So I've been thinking a little bit about Marco Rubio ever since I made the other video earlier this month about him, where I said he was the most undistinguished candidate, and I mentioned that he was one of two people running from Florida, was one of two Hispanics running, was one of three senators, and really I didn't feel had anything unique about him. And thanks to the efforts of one user in particular, but also another comment that was made on there, I have sort of shifted opinions a little bit, more lenient. Might retract my statement, and I'm actually, after seeing this last debate on Tuesday, very convinced that he is one of only two Republican candidates in that whole field of 14 that if he got the nomination, and he's a lot closer than the other person, he'd put up, if not a good fight in the general election, a victory against either Clinton or Sanders. Because one thing about people, especially millennials, I know this because I am one, you can only get so excited about an older person, especially one that you're very familiar with. I mean, people have known of Clinton for the last 20 plus years. She's not new, she's not exciting. No one I know looks forward to a Clinton presidency other than the fact, oh, we get the first woman. And that's something I really want to happen. But I don't believe she's entitled to that. I think she has to earn it. I don't feel she's been campaigning to the effect that you would think a person who wants to be president would. I think she's going at, if it was 100% to where you're fully campaigning, she's going at about maybe 60 or 65. That's about all she's doing right now, and I really, again, I prefer Sanders over her in a heartbeat, but whatever. So, Sanders' problem is that he's even older. And it's just when you have progressive ideas, it's the most, and this is really what someone pointed this out. It's so ironic for there to be a candidate or candidates who are for modern day positions such as same-sex marriage, uh, the death penalties, I guess abolition, and amnesty, or just an immigration reform that doesn't include deporting. And they're both in their 60s and 70s. They're older candidates. And when you see the Republican Party and you see, uh, opposing marijuana legalization and uh, opposing same-sex marriage, you think of these older values that are kind of a little more to the right than anything. They are to the right, I should say. And when you see it's a younger guy who is effectively voicing that message, it's such it's a tough pill to swallow because you don't expect that. You had Charles Crethammer, talking about Kennedy basically ran against Eisenhower when he ran in 1960. Even him and Nixon were the same age. The New Frontier really worked because you had at that time the oldest man ever elected, and the youngest, if elected, which he did, getting elected made him the youngest president ever elected. So what I'm getting at is the contrast is there, and if Rubio is able to, first of all, he's got to get the nomination, but in the general election, if he were able to play this idea that, yeah, I might have these older views, but I graduated from college 10, 20 years ago. These guys graduated when your grandparents were going through school. So if he does that, he could really do damage to both of them. And I'm not saying this as a supporter. I'm not saying this as an opposer. I'm just saying this as an observer. That's really what every other person seems inconceivable in the White House. I don't see Trump in the White House. I really, Cruz is so just to the right. But I guess they said Sanders is to the left. It's hard for me to see him doing as well as Rubio could potentially do. Go out and say it, because they kept talking about that Gang of Eight bill, but you know, there are some advantages to that. Oh, look, the guy pushed for illegal immigrants to have amnesty, or was not totally in favor of just deporting everybody like crazy. That would get my vote. Not, well, I'm not gonna, that's not even. I'm not talking about me personally, but that would make me look at him in a favorable way, because I personally see illegal immigration as something that really is just addressed in ways that it shouldn't. And there's a lot of dehumanizing and bad mouthing involved with talking about immigrants that aren't here, aren't documented, but they really shouldn't be spoken of in that way. And I guess I'm personally affected because I have grandparents who are immigrants, and I don't see how you even talk about people those ways. Just they dehumanize them. And I really don't like that. So all in all, I think he's one of the few people who could put on that Republican side. Two, I think, that could pull off a general election victory against either of the two leading Democrats right now, and actually uh, make something of himself to the point of bringing back the White House to Republicans. That's all I'm getting at. But again, I don't. That's just my opinion. I can't see into the future. I don't have a crystal ball that tells me everything about everybody. My hand right there, and everybody likes that. So it really just comes down to what ultimately the Republican Party voters want. They talk about Cruz leading in Iowa and Trump leading nationally. It isn't looking too good for Rubio, especially with voting starting in less than 2 months. That's not good.